Hello. In this module, what we're going to do is give you some phrasing, what we refer to as some magic phrases. What these are throughout the book, Carnegie lays out certain language that softens opposition, softens criticism, and this is a way to sort of take the theory of the people skills, the big stuff, and put it into an operational or a tactical strategy. When you're in a meeting, what do I actually say? If we're talking to our spouse, it's one thing to talk in general terms, but how do we actually speak? That's what we're doing here. Now, what I did, he doesn't put it in this structure in the book. He has these buried all throughout the book. What I did here, typical college professor, I took all those phrasing throughout the book, put them all up here in one module. And this, at the end of this little module, I'm going to give you some homework. Again, typical professor thing. I'm going to give you some homework so that you can actually learn how to use these on a daily basis. That's the only way this stuff is going to work. It has to become part of your language. So let's get started. Imagine you're in a meeting, someone says something you totally disagree with, it's totally stupid, and that's just it, and you're about to tell them. Well, that's not going to go well. That's how you get conflict and fighting at work and at home. Usually not a good idea. Let me start you off with that first phrase. After they said their piece, I don't blame you one bit for feeling as you do. If I were you, I'd probably feel exactly like you do. Think of that phrase. Now, you can say whatever you were going to say. And now you're giving them out. You're not telling them they're wrong. You're saying, you disagree with them, but you understand them. And you're not telling them they're wrong. That's the biggie. You're not telling them wrong or that they're wrong. And so that if they have to change their point of view, they lose and you win. People don't like they lose, you win, obviously. So with this, you're saying you understand. And when you say you understand them, that is going to help them. Then if you say something that is logical and you're bringing new information in, and now with the new information, they are totally free to switch their point of view to yours. And it's not that they were wrong before, they just didn't have all the information. And that is a huge difference in how you will interact with people when you phrase it that way. And we'll have a couple of variations of this along the way. Another one, I'm sorry to trouble you when you're about to ask somebody for help. I'm sorry to trouble you. Would you mind? The next few are sort of this category. I'm sorry to trouble you, and then go ahead and trouble them. Would you mind if I did this? If you phrase something, would you mind if I did this? If you just say, can I do this? Or I'm about to do this. They may or may not like that. But if you ask them, would you mind if I did this? There's a much higher likelihood they will agree to it. And a variation, would you be so kind as? Well, it's pretty hard to be, no, I want to be mean. Well, no, if you say it that way, there's a real tendency. Another language I like best is the next one. Would it be okay if, and you can throw almost anything after that and they'll say yes. Would it be okay if I fill out the application? Would it be okay if I steal $50 out of the cash register? You can say almost anything, no matter how ridiculous, and it's going to go over. It is going to be likely to be, oh, sure. It's very psychologically hard. When you ask first before you do it, they really want to say yes. In sales situations, when you're about to start your presentation. I'm just curious. I use this sometimes in advertising in a headline. I'm just curious. And then you go on, what company are you with for your workers' comp insurance? I'm just curious. If you were to sell your house, what price would you be asking? That's just a very nice phrase to get the ball rolling. Obvious, please, thank you, exactly what your parents taught you growing up. If you use that, you'll have better people relations. People still like it. It just is. Another one, now this is a short version of that first one we started off with. I may be wrong, but, or I could be wrong, but, instead of just telling them that they're wrong and you're right, by putting a little softener to it, that I could be wrong, but here's what I think, or here's some new information. That'll ease the process and make it much more likely that they can switch to your point of view without losing face and thinking they lost and you won. Another, when you need help, just asking, I need your help. I wonder if you'll help me. I wonder if you'll help me out of a little difficulty. Could you do me a favor? All those are, again, hard for people to say no to. Just human nature. And so much of this course takes human nature and puts it in your favor. And we've gotten away from that. We've gotten to a much more confrontational world. And going back to the kind of the 1930s in terms of attitudes on language is actually probably a significant improvement. Starting your conversations off with, I think, when you're about to express your opinion, remember, that's all it is, an opinion. It's not, you think it's a fact, but to them, it's an opinion. So by prefacing with I think or I believe, both of those will immediately not cause them to oppose you. They might still disagree with you, but you can disagree without being disagreeable. So that's kind of where you're trying to, the fine line you're trying to go for. And the last one here, I imagine if you are trying to explain your point of view, this is very useful in the sales situation. I imagine that this is what the world is going to be like. Get them to kind of visualize what their life would be like if they bought your product. And that will be extremely useful as a tool. Here are some action steps. Actually, I just thought of something. Before I do the action step, I didn't put it into PowerPoint slides, but it's something I mentioned the idea of using some of these phrases in sales situations. There's a concept called feel, felt, found. Feel, felt, found, which is used, almost anybody that's had any sales training has probably heard this, but it applies in lots of different areas as well. Where when you're about to, somebody gives you an objection, whether it's sales situation or not, they give you any kind of objection or a point of view you don't agree with. Instead of saying they're wrong, which starts a fight, you say, I understand how you feel. I used to feel the same way, or I felt the same way. Or if you actually never felt the same way, I phrase it, others felt the same way. But, and then you finally get your point of view, but here's the new information. So whatever they tell you, I understand how you feel. Others have felt the same way. But when they had a chance to really think about it or do some research, here is what they found. So it's feel, felt, and found. That's extremely effective. I used to, when I had my real estate company, when I would hire an agent, I could train you basic how to handle objections in about 5 or 10 minutes, just focusing on feel, felt, found. Then we'd get into all the other stuff later. but I could get them serviceable in 5 or 10 minutes by just understanding feel, felt, found. Feel, felt, found. Okay, so here's some action steps. Take all these phrases. You can even start with the feel, felt, found, and then put all those others that we just did. Put those on 3x5 cards. You can also use your smartphone. But I actually find the 3x5 cards more useful. Because it's physical, you see it, you're handling them, carry them around, put a rubber band around them, carry them around all day long. Stick them in a pocket, and you'll run across them much more likely that you'll use them. Now, every day, at the beginning of the day, but you can do it throughout the day, practice those phrases by yourself for at least 5 or 10 minutes. So start your day off, just walk through the cards. When you get to work, before you start working, take a couple minutes and go through the cards. Then try to think of a few applications. Like if you know you're going to be in a meeting this afternoon. Well, how could I use this if somebody says something in a meeting and I have to throw in my point of view and have the phrase ready to go. You don't actually have to read it off the card, but you got to have it ready to go. And then try to think several situations. You're going to be home. You're going to have some discussion with your spouse. Well, how could I use this? So try to incorporate that. And then throughout the day, several times in normal conversations, you'll want to be able to use as many of those phrases as possible. And I will guarantee, and here's a guarantee, and I can do that because I've seen countless students of mine when I've given them this exercise. I guarantee you will get a better response from people. And it's not subtle. It'll be a very noticeable, oh my gosh, everybody agreed with me. And in the past, there was conflict in the meeting. You'll find your meeting goes smoothly. And at the end of the meeting, we did it my way. So I changed minds with this. You're going to be shocked. And that's why I put all these up front. I want you while you're going through the rest of the course. And some of these will come up again as you get into the actual part of the course where they were. But if you do my action steps here, the minute you do these, you will see the magnitude of what you're learning. And that'll bring your enthusiasm up dramatically for what you're going to learn the rest of the course. And it'll make this even more powerful for you. I hope that helps.